So we're looking at this problem. We have to get the username from the user. That's going to be an input. Then we have to go one character at a time and put a space after the character. You can see that by the run here. But we also have to not allow them to put anything except letters of the alphabet. They can't put numbers. And so we know that we have a, in Python, we have some functions that allow us to do that. There's a function called isAlpha. IsAlpha is Boolean. So it's true if everything in the string is a letter of the alphabet. And it's false if something isn't a letter of the alphabet. So that's obviously the function that we want to use on this. We're going to take our string, we're going to check to make sure it's alpha, and if it's not alpha, we're going to tell them to do it again. All right, well, that sounds like a loop. We've done that before, an error trapping loop. We read the value, the string, then we test it to make sure that it's not that it's alpha. If it's not, we give them an error message and we tell them to do it again. There's a loop. Okay, so we got that. Then we got another loop, which is going to take each character of the string, one character at a time, and add a space to the end of it. And then we're going to put that all together in a string. The string will be a concatenated string. You concatenate a string by adding strings together. Boom. I think we can do that. You think we can do that? Yeah, let's do it. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to read in the name. I guess we're going to call it name. Why don't we just call it name? And that's just going to be an input. And we're just going to ask them. I'm not going to make up how we're going to do it. We're just going to take it from the problem. There's the problem. It says, please enter your name. And there we go. We got them saying, please enter your name. Maybe make this a bit wider so we can see the program as we go. So the thing is, next part we have to do here is, well, what if they're got the wrong kind of name? They put letters in the name. Well, then we're going to do error trapping here. So our error trapping, we'll actually do it in a while loop. So we'll say while you got a bad name, and so we can use not. Not means instead of being true, if it was true, we'll make it false, that kind of thing. If it was false, we'll make it true. So this is negation. So while not the name.
The equal sign and exclamation.
The exclamation mark on an equal sign means the same thing. It's just a different way of using it. All right. So, but we do it this way here. This is the only way I've found that I can do it with this name thing. So, the name we're gonna test to see if it's alphabetic. And so I don't know if you remember this from the lesson, but what this is going to do is it's going to take the string called name, and it's going to test to see if anything in there is alphabetic, or if everything in there is alphabetic. If there's something in there that's not alphabetic, then it'll be a not, and that will make you go into this, and that will be our error. So we're going to put our error message there, and our error message is going to be this thing here. All right, so that's kind of taken up the whole screen, isn't that? So let's see if we can make it a bit smaller so we can see what we're doing. All right, so that's what we do if they got the wrong name. And of course, we're going to ask them to put a good name in after that. So I'm just going to copy that and put it there. So what we're doing is we ask them for their name. We check to see that it's only alphabetic. If it's not alphabetic, then we give them an error message and we ask them for their name again. And we'll keep doing that until they got a good name. That is an error trapping loop. Error trapping loop. That's the way I like to do my error trapping, because the program doesn't stop. You know, we keep them in the program. They don't have to restart the program. All they have to do is put the right value in. I think that's better for the user than stopping the program and saying, sorry. And then what do they have to do? Start the program again. This way they stay in the program until they put the right value in. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take one character at a time. If it's correct, we're going to take one character at a time. We have to uppercase it. I think we can do the uppercase at the end, but we're going to take one character at a time. We're going to add a space to it. So that would be a while loop. While what? I think, we'd have to have a counter to do this while loop, right? So we could have an index, and I'm going to start using I as our index. So our I is going to be, that's an index value. Don't have to do this red stuff. I'm just doing this to show you what I'm doing here. So we're going to put our index at that position. We'll say while I is less than what? Well, I could make a new variable, but what I really want is I just want to have the length of the variable name. However long the name is, I'm going to get every character from that name. So I can do that with while I is less than the length of the name. So I can just do that all in that sentence. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take the I and I'm going to add it to it. Well, oh, I need to add another thing here. I'm going to have a string, which is their name. I'll call it upper name or something like that. Or new name or something. I don't know. Upper name. Yeah, let's do that. So upper name. Now, look what I'm doing here. I put 2 quotes and I didn't type anything between them. It's just 2 quotes. What that is an empty string. So you can have a string that's got nothing in it. Basically, the string has a null value, and then we can add stuff to it. So we're going to add stuff to this string. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take one letter of, so if they put in Zane, we'll take the little Z, we'll add a space to it, and then we'll add that to the string. Then we'll take the little E and add that. Then we'll take, see what I'm doing? We'll do each one of those one at a time. So we can just do that inside here. What I'll do is I'll say, okay, uname plus equals. We're going to add to it. What are we going to add to it? The thing that's at that position. Now, here's something that you probably haven't done before, right? Look at that carefully. We've got a square brackets. The square brackets means using the index. So the name is a string. String is made up of characters. Each character has a position. The position of each character can be found by its index. The index is shown when you use square brackets. The square brackets, so each character in that name can be found. So like the character at position 0 would be Z. The character at position 1 would be E. Position 2 would be I. Position 3 would be N. That's the way that works. So I can find each one of those. I'm going to start out at position 0, which is at the start of the name. And then what am I going to do to it? I'm going to add a space to it. Just like that. Well, let's keep it. So this, do you see that this is different than this? This is no space. This is got a space in it. I'll put this out here so it doesn't interrupt with it. So this is an empty string, empty or null string in that line. Now, and so we're going to loop through all the characters in the string. And what this one is we're going to add the character at the index position. Plus a space. So that's what that does. I'm just putting this stuff on the side there so you can see what's happening in the code as we go. Now, this is not part of the program. I'm just putting that there for you because maybe, yeah, people will be confused. You haven't seen this before. Don't feel bad if it's a little bit confusing. But I'm trying to make it not. So that's all we have to do. It's going to take that character one at a time. It's going to add it with the space behind it. So then all we have to do is increment the counter. And that's our loop. Now, after that, we can change the uname so that it's upper. Change it to uppercase. And that's it. And then we can print it. Okay, so I hope that makes sense to you. What did we have to do? We got 2 loops there. The first loop, all that's doing is that's an error trapping loop. So that makes it so that they must enter the right name. a name that doesn't have numbers in it or anything like that, only a name with characters. Then the next thing is we start a string that's empty, and we have an index which points to the start of this. We can use that index for anything actually, but so we're going to use it here for that string that we read in their name. I'm going to go through one at a time. We're going to add a space to it, and then we're going to add it back to the uname. Let's run it and see. So I'm just going to call it upper space name. Why not, right? Because why not? All right. So let's see if it's the same as our sample run. So our sample run is, we could just type in Zane. And yeah, that looks right. Okay, let's run it again. So it works right when we do Zane. Let's run it with the other example it's got, which is so the other example there is ZE33. This should come up with an error. And what we've done is we give them the error and they have to type a right one. So if I type something else, then it will do it the same as it did the other one, put it into uppercase and put spaces after it. Everybody understand? So that's problem one. Let's go back and look at what's happening. Here we're just reading a string from the user. So we got a string from user. User entered a string. And then here, this is error trapping. This is an error trap. That is, I call it an error trap because if they make an error, they're stuck inside that loop. And then here, I've got those things. Got some notes on that. First, we set the index to the start of the string. Then we create a new string. This is a new string. I should say that. That's a new empty string. It wasn't, so this is a different string, right? This is a new string, different one. And then we get our old string and we go through it one character at a time. And we add a space to it and add it back to this new string. And increment our counter. And then we just convert it. So this last one, you should know what that is. That's convert to uppercase. And that's incrementing our counter. Increment means to increase its size, right? Any questions? Abdullah? Doesn't work? Okay, hold on. I'm going to pause the I'll pause the record. So please enter your name. So you see, the first line it printed was line 16, as predicted. Then the next line is line 2, because it goes up to that function, right? Now we're going to put in a bad name, ZE33. And what will it do? It goes to lines 4 and 5, because that's inside that loop. Then we put in a good name. And then what does it do? It doesn't, it jumps out of that loop, goes to line 11. Line 11, and lastly, line 13. So let's see where those were. It was trapped in here in this loop, doing 4 and 5 twice, right? And then when it's finished there, it came and jumped into this and added those things. So it did line 11 more than once, right? Why did it do line 11 more than once? Because that's building up the string, right? Z, then Z in a space, Z in a space, and an E in a space, Z a space, E a space, I a space, and then, yeah, then it has the last one where it's all uppercase. So I hope that helps you to see what's happening in this program. The program starts here, it ends here. The first thing it does is calls this and goes and does this stuff. And then when that's finished, it calls this and goes and does that stuff. Easy peasy? Japanesey. You didn't do it like that, but did it work? Sorry? But does it have spaces?
Yeah.
That's perfect then. Doesn't have to be like mine. Now, that's the thing, right? I've written this program now. This is the third class I've done this with. Every time it's been different. And that's me. So I expect you to do it different, right? Programming, it's kind of like writing an essay in a way. I mean, it's not always going to be the same. It's fine. It's fine. As I said, I've written this is the third time I've written this program, and this is the first time I did it like this. First time I used these variable names, the first time I did it quite like that. Okay. And this is, and by the way, maybe later I'll show you the answer key that was given to me with the question, and this will be different than the answer key. I can guarantee it, because different people do different things, and it's fine as long as it works, right? We check to see if it works. Yes.
Sir, can you confirm?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to pause. If I'm going to go and look at your stuff, I'm going to pause. I'm going to try and pause. So what we notice in this problem is that the starting number must be 6 numbers, or 6 digits. So we can do that, a test on a string. We're going to read in a string, and we're going to test if it's 6 digits. We do that with a function called isNumeric. So we're going to do isNumeric. If it's these things, it'll give us this error. The other thing is it must be exactly 6 characters long. And so that's how we're going to do our trapping. We're going to trap it that way. We're going to get a good seed. So we'll do that. And then when we've got the seed, what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 numbers to the front and 1 number to the back. And they're going to be random. So we're going to use random int. To use random int, we need to import the random library. So we can do that straight away. That's going to be at the start of our program. We're going to have to import the random library. Then we're going to try and get our good seed. To get the good seed, this is kind of like what we did in it's very similar to what we did in the last program, where we return the seed if it's good, but only when it's good. So we have to have an input and to get the seed. And so, yeah, let's do that. Seed we do an input. And the input is going to be this thing here. Please enter a seed consists of 6 integers. So that's our seed. Isn't it the same? It's kind of similar to what we just did, right? We're going to get a number, but then it has to be, now we're going to do the error trap. The error trap is it has to be exactly 6 characters long. How are we going to do that? Len, right? So while, and I'm just going to say not, and we're going to make a compound case here. So we're going to have 2 things have to be true for us to move on to the next thing. And so what they're going to be is that first, the length of our seed must be exactly 6. And then we've got another thing going on, which is, so the length must be exactly 6. And the other thing that has to happen is it has to be numeric. Well, that's easy. Seed dot is numeric. And so if those 2 things are not true, if those 2 things are true, then it's good. But if they're not true, then we give an error message. So the error message is going to be, I'm going to make a combination error message, which is of these 2 things. So here's our error message. Oops. The seed should consist of 6 numbers. I'm going to put digits. And so if it doesn't have 6 digits, then it's wrong. So now we can just ask them to enter it again. And that's it. Eventually, they'll get the good seed. So there's our function, which gets a good seed. You see it returns out a good seed. So somewhere we're going to have a main. And in our main, it's going to get the seed. So it's going to be a good seed, so I'll call it G seed. We get from get seed. Get seed is going to produce a good seed for us. Then what are we going to do with that seed? That's the next thing. We actually have to create a new variable, a new function called generate password. So I'm just going to copy that name. And we're going to make a new function here. And it's going to have that name, generate password. And what generate password is going to do is it's going to take that seed in, which I'll just call S. And when it's done, it's going to return a password. So how's that going to work? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a value at the start. And the value at the start is we're going to use this random integer thing. So we're going to have a 2-digit number, random 2-digit number. How that works, if you look at the notes here, we do this random integer function. So I'm going to use this function that it tells us to use. Okay, so that's going to be equal to that, except I and J are going to be I is the smallest number. The smallest number can be 10, and J is the biggest number, which could be 100 or 99. So how this random works is it's going to give you a random number between these two numbers. So that's a 2-digit number, right? So this gives us a 2-digit number. Then we're going to do the same thing with a suffix. So you got a prefix and a suffix. The suffix is going to be the same. And except we're only going to do a 1-digit number. So that's going to go from 0 to 10. So this gets a 1-digit number. Get a 1-digit number. So what the program says to do is at the front of our number, we put at the front of our number, we put a 2-digit number. And at the back of the number, we put a 1-digit number. So we're going to add the pre to the front, and we're going to add the suff to the back. That's easy. So we're going to create this new variable called P, and it's going to be equal to our pre plus our S plus our suff. And so this thing is going to go to the front. The 2-digit number goes to the front. The S is the seed. Let's see. So that's what's happening there is we add the 2-digit to the front and the 1-digit to the back. And then we return the P. So that's good. All right. So what else do we have to do? Actually, that's not quite enough. We have to convert the P to a hexadecimal number. So let's do that. We'll say, let's call it H. We'll call it H and we'll return HP. So we're going to actually return HP. And HP is going to take its value. We're going to use the hex function to convert an integer. And what we want to convert is we want to convert P. But the problem is P is not an integer. P is a string. So we need it to be an integer. So we're going to convert the P to an integer. And after we've converted it to an integer, then we can convert it to a hex. So that's what we're going to do there. This converts our number to a hex. I think it might be useful to print this at this point so you can see. And because we're going to print at the end. So now we've generated our password. So we can say, okay, I'm going to create a not pass because that's a, when I typed pass, I see that that is a reserved word. So I'm going to say password takes a value of, copy that, put it there. And what we're going to, instead of passing S to it, we're going to pass good seed. So, and in the main, first we're going to go and run this stuff. Then we're going to go and run this stuff. Now let's put some line numbers in there just so you can see, because I like to do that, right? So this is like line 2. This is line 4. This is line 5. I think you'll agree with that. Line 6, line 7, line 8, line 9, line 10. This is line 11. Okay. Did you see how I got to line 11 without me typing in all those other things? I'm just going to do it for the things where we actually print, right? So line 5, line 6, line 7, line 8, line 9, line 10, line 11. And okay, so this is line 12, line 13, line 14, line 15, line 16. Good. So the next line is we're going to print it. And we're going to print it. This is going to be, I don't know, line 18. And what are we going to print there? We're going to print the password. And we'll see what that is. Password is going to be a string. No, it's a hex. So we're going to have to convert it back to a string. There it is. How much fun is that? So I put the line numbers in so we can see how the program works. It's going to start here. Then it's going to go up there to that. Maybe I could just put a thing here. This is going to be about line 16 or something. And just so we can see the program run. Shall we try? Let's run it. So we've got two functions. We've got a random. We're using the random to make a random number between a 2-digit random number and a 1-digit random number. Then we add the 2-digit random number to the front. So that's what the pre is. And we add the 1-digit number to the back. And that gives us a new string. And we print that string. And then we convert it to an integer, and then we convert it back to a hex. And that's what we see. That's what we're going to print out, inshallah. Let's see. So this is going to be password generate. Let's go. All right. So please enter. So you see it started at line 16, then it went straight up to line 2. Because that called that function. And so what if we put in something like this? What it should do is it should get caught in this loop here. If I put in a value which is not a number, it's going to do these things. It should print 4 and 5. So let's see. Yeah, there's 4 and 5. Must be 6. It must be exactly 6 digits. Please keep. So as long if I type anything which is not exactly 6 digits, it's going to get me stuck in that loop. Okay, so it's stuck in that loop now, so it's kind of hard to see it at the bottom there. But there it is. So now I'm going to put in, I'm just going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I know that that's 6 characters, right? And then we get an error. All right, so what have I done? Add 2 digit, a digit to the end of the seed. All right, so seed is, okay, hold on. Add 2 digit, all right, so what was it saying? Type error, unsupported operand for plus, int, and string. We're adding an integer and a string together. In this line 14, generate password. So we're trying to add an integer and a string. One of these is this. Oh, this is a number. So we've got to convert pre and suff into strings. Oh, that was bad. My bad. I should have known that. Of course, those are numbers. Ramadan. I'll blame it on Ramadan that I'm hungry and tired, right? That's what we do. So yeah, obviously these are producing numbers. You can't add numbers to strings. So I have to convert it to a string and then it will work, we hope. Let's run it again. So let's do it with 6. We did it with some bad things, right? If it's bad, it gives us this loop. It tells us it's bad and we got to do it again. Now let's do it with good number. 6. Still got it. Okay, so add 2 digit to from must be a string, not an int. Same thing. Didn't I just fix that? Oh, I didn't fix it. Why did I type int there? I must be tired. All right. I mean, it's even telling me and I can't see it. So there, now it works. Let's do it clean. Run it again. Yeah, just, I don't know, I put it in there. All right, so if you put in a bad one, like they did, then you have to keep putting it in until you get a good one, right? If you put a short one, you have to keep putting it in until you get a good one. When you get a good one, what it's going to do is we see, here's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Do you see it added 2 numbers to the start and 1 number to the back, right? And then it converted it to a hex and then to a string from there. So this is our password. Now watch, notice this password, 1FA9FF04. I'm going to run the program again. I'm going to do the exact same input. And you'll see that we come up with a different password, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Different password, right? See, instead of having the 5-3 at the start, like it did last time, it's got 8-7 and a different ending. That's the random numbers. That's the random numbers, right? And so we get a different hex. Is that cool or what? So sorry about my sort of lame little mistakes there of forgetting about the string. So the problem there was this was generating an integer and it needed to be converted to a string. Pretty obvious when you think about it. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording now. I'll bet I didn't. Yes, I'm going to stop.